Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast, continuing to pick apart as we do. And so we have, I would say, a lot to get to just because there is a lot going on. In WWE, obviously, we're on the precipice of going into Elimination Chamber here in a couple weeks. So there's going to be a lot of matches for that. There's a lot of titles not getting defended. We have a pissed off Braun Breaker. I mean, so let's just get to it. And so we had Raw kickoff this week with the absolute pissed off Braun Breaker from basically getting screwed at the Royal Rumble, basically being beat up by a masked superstar that really could be anybody, because I've said this before. There was probably more than one masked character they had, and this is how it went. But yeah, so Braun Breaker's just absolutely livid, ends up, tearing apart the freaking commentators table, just a smothering of just whatever. And so after all that, we get like him kind of calmed down by Paul Heyman, and the rest of the Vision. And as he's getting walked back, you see the emergence of LA Knight getting his licks in to Austin Theory and the rest of the Vision. And then Braun tries to go back in. Obviously, LA Knight runs off. Obviously, this is kind of a throwback to the fact that, LA Knight was out because of the Vision. And I think that the Vision basically has a roster full of people who don't like them. So now we get our first match, which is Javon Evans versus El Grande Americano. And so at Royal Rumble, obviously, we've seen the emergence of the original El Grande Americano, which was obviously Chad Gable. And so we have this whole match going on, and then we get some interference from Bravo and Rayo Americano. And then we see the emergence of the original El Grande Americano and basically beats the piss out of them. The new El Grande obviously doesn't, gets distracted, and obviously Javon does get, the OG cutter for the win. And this is going to be interesting how they're going to play this with the OG Americano versus the new, I guess you could say, El Grande Americano, just because the new El Grande Americano was honestly by accident, essentially, and it was kind of filler, but then it started working, and so they just kind of kept running with it. You had the same thing with who's the other two that was what, Butch and Tyler Bate, I think it was.
Yeah. Yep.
That basically play these other two characters. And so now I really hope we honestly get like an El Grande Americano versus OG Americano match. Loser takes the mask off match or something at WrestleMania. And I think that would be awesome, because, it would kind of break the internet.
Yep.
But I think it would need to happen, or otherwise we get El Grande Americano injured, and then you see the reemergence of Ludwig Kaiser. I don't know. However they play it out.
Right.
So obviously Gunther beating AJ Styles, much like he did to John Cena, much like he did to Goldberg. He is the new legend killer. And so, he's out there doing the troll things that Gunther does. His entrance was absolutely amazing. You've seen AJ Styles music hit and people thought like he's coming back. And then you see Gunther absolutely troll the crowd and even does like the, and so and Dragon Lee obviously thought different of that.
Yeah.
And so he comes out, and obviously Gunther just annihilates the piss out of him. Yeah, And the like the funny thing about this particular segment is that AEW literally copied it. Like there was a spot in AEW when someone did the exact same thing with draping the wrestler over the ring, just like Gunther did to Dragon Lane. Just a kind of,
I, you know,
uh,
who did it better though? Let the internet decide.
yeah, true. So we got the emergence of Obafemi recently, and there's no decision on which brand he's going to. He's just kind of showing up. And the Warriors apparently were supposed to have a match, and Obafemi basically comes out and destroys them. And
I mean, I mean, we've seen, the Raiders do that to other teams. We've seen it, with flash and pan characters, but I think Obafemi's got that thing, that it factor, and if they play it right, we can get Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi this year, and we can send Brock
yeah,
Lesnar home too.
yeah, and the thing is, and like the weird thing is, we still want the Gunther versus Brock Lesnar match too.
Yeah,
And so like I think Obafemi can kind of take a back seat. Obviously, like we enjoyed seeing, Brock Lesnar and Obafemi kind of face off in the ring, and there was kind of a moment, but there was also that moment last year at WrestleMania between Gunther and Brock Lesnar. So I think we need to do one fantasy match at a time, and I would, and I don't know if there's going to be much of a build to it.
it
Um,
doesn't have to be. I mean,
yeah,
we just, yeah,
it really just takes one segment for someone to beat up somebody, and then I
yep.
want to see, and so I mean, however they do it, I want to see Gunther versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I think a lot of us do because we were supposed to get it last year, and it just didn't happen. So obviously, there's all the lawsuit stuff. So
Yeah.
there was extenuating circumstances. So we got Brie Bella back at Royal Rumble, and now we get to deal with the Bella twins, and I could care fucking less.
A lot of people have a problem with the Bella twins, and I know it's probably not interesting for some people because they've already done this. They've already been champions, and they're bringing back veterans for like these tours and helping out with younger people, younger performers. I don't mind. Gives them something to do.
Well,
They're not horrible. They are a bit older. But I think
well,
it could be worthwhile to
yeah,
see them do something.
they didn't show up to amplify anything but their own egos, because they're trying to strike and like, oh yeah, we're gonna go after the tag team championships. Yeah, after the all the all the stuff's been going on with the women's tag team division, like I said last week, of how hot the women's tag team division is right now over the secondary titles and the championships. So it's like you're just coming in when everything's hot versus really doing anything for the tag team division. I mean,
I mean,
I
but that's they're
I don't
banking on that they still have the ability to draw people in, that there's you know older, more lapsed viewers, and casuals that would say like, oh man, I really remember the Bella twins, let me go and check them out. We're not going to get any 5-star matches, we're not probably not going to get a 4-star match out of them. However, if there's money to be made, WWE will find a way to make money. That's just what they do, and I am not mad about it. Do I think that they could really invest in other teams being called up? Yeah, I do, but at the same
yeah.
time, this is what we're gonna get, and shut up and like it, I guess, or not,
Yeah,
and that's why we're here.
I just I think there's too much going on. There's obviously like Nia Jackson, Lash Legends that are actually due to champion. They're actually due a championship match when they beat the Kabuki Warriors, and then they ended up putting it as a triple threat or whatever. And then like they should have gotten their fair punch at a a straight up tag team match. And they kind of got screwed in that aspect. But obviously I think there's other plans going on for them. But so we get Penta versus Bronson Reed, and obviously ends in a count out due to Bronson Reed catching an MFT or a BFT. So many acronyms. Catching a BFT by LA Knight, and basically LA Knight kind of getting his last licks in for the Vision, and good on him.
Yep.
Now we've seen. So Raquel was supposed to have basically had a Philly street fight match, and she basically said, "Hey, all of you stay out of my business," and so you get this kind of back and forth between Liv and Raquel, and I think there's going to be a conclusion to this debacle, in regards to Liv obviously throwing out Raquel. So I think there's going to be stuff developing here into basically during WrestleMania, season. And obviously we kind of have to wait and figure out what that is, but I feel like they're not done. Raquel's not done.
No.
And so during, Raquel's street fight that she had with Stephanie Vaquer for the title, you've seen a bunch of outside involvement, and like I said, she's not just letting this slide. And I think she's playing it slow right now, but she's pissed.
Yeah.
And and obviously Stephanie Vaquer gets the win against Raquel, so there goes her title. And so I think that more than likely Liv is going to go after Stephanie Vaquer for that title. And really, I think when this happens at WrestleMania, I think that Raquel screws Liv Morgan.
That would be lovely.
I think it's going to be the same thing. Yeah, I think she's going to fully blown friggin' do a CM Punk Drew McIntyre situation, and I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility, because just because she won doesn't mean all of a sudden she's just going to win. And I think Raquel's going to give her a receipt, as it were, for kicking her out of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But, so I definitely think that's going to happen at some point. So basically at the end of the night, we obviously get Roman Reigns, who won the Royal Rumble, coming out and, chatting it up for a while. And then obviously CM Punk comes out, and, they have a pretty crazy exchange. And honestly, this is probably the best back and forth promo stuff I've seen all year.
Well, the year's young, so
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna, we're just gonna call it for what it is. We're obviously only in the first week of February, but like, just a lot of truth behind what they were saying. Roman basically, talking about his championship reign, and then you have CM Punk saying, just because you've done it longer doesn't mean you did it better. And Roman defended his title in those 1,300 days 56 times, versus CM Punk had 400 and something days, and he defended it over 100 times. And
two different eras. I mean,
but two different eras.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
you're comparing like Jordan to LeBron.
Yeah, this is the Jordan LeBron comparison.
Yeah.
And I really have to give it to CM Punk. And because he defended a lot more, obviously, back, like I said, different eras. But like, you look at it, I mean, even like the Bruno Sammartino that defended his title every 4 days. for over 1,000 for like over 1,000 days.
Right.
And so like obviously different eras, whatever. But either way, that's a lot of times. Like it or lump it, whatever era it was, whatever how long the matches were, whatever it be, either way, that's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And basically that's basically saying CM Punk basically defended his title pretty much every 4 days, just like San Martino did.
I
So,
mean, it's,
and obviously that
different.
doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they were like, they probably a lot of them were house shows. Let's be real, how house shows used to go back in the day. So I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of those were house shows. Probably only 40 or 50 were probably less than that. Probably 20 were televised. So like the number, yeah, you can take it for what it is. But so you roll over to SmackDown, and basically, I really think Cody's the new Drew McIntyre crybaby. And I, you get this whole brawl that breaks out when Drew tries to come out.
Mhm.
And, I don't know if this is the heel turn where we think we're going to get in regards to Cody Rhodes, but it's partially believable. And poor Drew McIntyre, right? Like he got beat up in the beginning, he got beat up in the middle, and like, you know, took it
It's
on the
not like,
chin, man.
you know what? It's not like Drew has not been an absolute jerk and been asking for this comeuppance for a couple of weeks now. He's been
Oh yeah,
trolling, he's
100%.
been
Oh yeah.
attacking. I mean, he cost, Cody a chance at winning the Royal Rumble. I mean, he's done some things, but
Yeah. I mean, it's and the thing is though, is like a lot of Drew's like career has really just been, frustration. And
yeah,
like and obviously like, his second run in WWE was way freaking better than his first. And so like, sometimes you gotta leave to recreate and come back better.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
and he's done just that, and he's been, I think, the best version of a professional wrestler in the last in his career. I mean, just from going, coming back in NXT, getting, and then going through the whole pandemic era, and then that feud with CM Punk, which, by the way, I think he should have won that feud, but I digress. Uh, he he's been a company man, and I think he's earned his third title reign.
right.
Um,
Oh yeah, no, I
so
mean,
yeah,
and plenty just deserved. Like
yeah,
I'm not sleeping on anything that is Drew McIntyre. But yeah, I just think like this raging Cody, I feel like, I mean, it's like everyone was over you being champion, dude. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like
I,
I
it
think a
definitely
lot of,
does. Yeah, it definitely does add the energy of keeping Cody around in a title picture, but he's got some new obstacles. He's got to get past Jacob Fatu. And if he does get past Jacob Fatu, um, is who else is going to interrupt him? I don't see
well,
Cody having that
because
championship
it's
anytime
Sammy,
this year.
yeah, it's Sami Zayn, Jacob Fatu, in the triple threat. And
Yeah.
so it's a lot, and I really just hope Jacob Fatu wins, really. I would rather see him at the Elimination Chamber than anybody else. And as
Yeah.
much as and I've said that, we talked about this, for a while, about, is Sami Zayn a potential champion? And I just
I think
I don't think, I mean, I'm not gonna put it out of the realm of possibility, but I'm not going to think of it as probable. But that
right.
doesn't mean that he is any less of a Hall of Famer than anybody else.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Not only that, I think WWE needs to have those what if characters, what if guys, and I think Sami Zayn is that what if he would
Yeah.
have won the championship. When people look back on Sami Zayn's career in WWE and compare it to the next Sami Zayn, whomever that may be, you know,
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Oh man, if Sami Zayn would have got it," just like if Tito Santana would have won it, or
Yeah. I
if
mean, it's
someone else would have won it. I
the
think
Hall of yeah,
W, yeah,
the Hall of
it's a
Fame
hall,
is
yeah,
full.
it's a Hall of Fame career, but at the same time, we know that WWE has these tropes and they like to pigeonhole certain characters. I mean, I think Sami Zayn should have won the championship as many times as Kevin Owens has won a championship.
Yeah. Yeah. And
No doubt about it.
it's unfortunate just because I mean, he's been a absolute trooper when it comes to doing whatever he's asked to do.
Mhm.
I mean, all the way back to, NXT or even the Indies as El Generico or something like that, I believe
Yep.
was his name.
Yes, yep.
And so like I mean, he has a lot of people that have absolute respect for him. Me
Mhm.
being one of them. I think that it sucks that you don't win championships, right? And it
Yeah.
or like the top championship because that's basically that's the only one that's thwarting him is that. And and so like maybe it's something down the road where he gets released and comes back and he's jacked or something or or reinvents himself a little bit or something and then we see that time frame come after a little bit of reinventing um but however it plays out again it does not taint him being a Hall of Famer. So
No. Absolutely
but
not. Absolutely not.
so the next match we got on SmackDown was Rhea and Io Sky versus Julia and Kiana James in a tag match. In yeah, I mean it's pretty much going how we thought it would be, going in regards to Rhea and Io Sky being champion. Obviously they do get the win. Not really much of a surprise. Um, you know, I think they're going to this is going to be, there's going to be a hella big tag match at
Yeah.
WrestleMania for these. And I think that every person, that has been involved in these feuds, whether it's Kabuki Warriors, Kiana and Julia, Lash Legend and Nia Jax, the list goes on. I think that it's going to be a huge match at WrestleMania. And it's
Oh
probably
yeah.
going to be
Oh,
like a
definitely.
it's probably going to be like a 6-person like ladder match for the tag belts, whatever, like it's going to be huge just because you got to strike while the iron's hot. And like I said before, the tag team division and the women's division is hot right now, and you just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
so the next match we got was Carmelo Hayes versus The Miz, and it poor Miz, man. Guy
you
hasn't won a
know,
match in like almost 2 years. Like,
you know what?
but
I don't mind. I don't have an opinion of the Miz losing matches, but these are the consequences of his own actions.
yeah.
And
I mean, and
and
I think he's okay with it anyways. I feel like it's like I've said before, I am very high on The Miz. I think that he's been with the company for, you know, not much short of a time than like, Randy Orton. I mean, The Miz has at least probably 18 years, and so you've seen him at his highs, and right now he's kind of okay playing a background character. And and again, it doesn't taint anything from him being a Hall of Famer. And so like in his career where he is now, he's like, dude, I don't care about taking L's, man. He has more losses than anybody in WWE history, but he's also was the first two-time Grand Slam champion, and he's almost chasing the three-time you know champion thing. So like I don't think he'll get to three. I don't think he'll be a three-time Grand Slam, but you know. But I mean, his numbers speak for themselves. The amount of intercontinental reigns, the amount of United States tag teams,
Mhm.
WWE champion. So like his resume is already Hall of Fame, and so
Right.
he doesn't care right now, dude. He's having fun, and like we've said a million times over, man, I would rather be doing what I love and taking some L's than not doing what I love and taking L's.
Yeah.
And if this is the role he's fine with, let it ride.
Yeah.
Now, so we have an Elimination Chamber triple threat qualifying match between Lash Legend, Tiffany Stratton, and Chelsea Green.
Mhm.
And I'm a little bit mad that Tiffany Stratton won.
Mm.
And I say this because Lash Legend is hot right now.
Yep, she is.
And maybe this is probably because it usually happens is where they have all the losers face off, and maybe we still see Lash Legend get in because I
I
think the bougie bully,
yep.
deserves some shine. I mean, she had the most
Yeah,
eliminations at Royal Rumble, had an amazing showing at Royal Rumble. So I think again, this is one of those situations where like you got to roll with what's hot right now.
but I think how do I best say this? I don't think that is good for WWE's business. Like, again, it goes back to getting everything that we want immediately, and WWE wants to play the long game. They've got to build her up, so she's got to have her ups and downs.
Yeah.
Trick is going to have his ups and downs. It'll be something similar to what we see with Penta or with LA Knight or even
Yeah,
with
and
Carmelo Hayes.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying her
so
win the elimination chamber, but like at least to get there.
yeah, getting there is I don't have a problem with her getting there. I don't know if she'll win. I don't think they'll fast track her to like a
No,
championship. But I do think
I'm still thinking that we're gonna get Bianca Belair. I still feel like I'm, you
she's got to get
know,
that finger healed up, and maybe they're just waiting for creative in the right time. They got to
well,
get through this whole Jordan Grace situation, or maybe they've just moved on from getting Bianca back at a decent time, and um
well, and
Lash is going to fill in that spot.
well, I
Yeah,
mean,
we just yeah.
but we're also relying on social media to dictate any actual terms because they could have taken those photos a month ago
Hmm.
and then just release them acting like they were new photos. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh
this isn't out of the realm of possibility for the things they've done, with wrestlers before about, basically overshooting a time frame for their return. And then when they return early, it's like this grandiose thing. I mean,
yep.
John Cena did it. I mean, there's been a plethora of wrestlers
Yeah.
that were hurt, and then come back.
Yep.
Now, someone that I'm sure is going to be hurt is one Kit Wilson
Hmm.
because he picked a fight with Obafemi, and you know what, man? Honestly, I like Kit
Mhm.
Wilson, man. I will
You
say
know,
honestly, like he like right, when he obviously lost his partner and he kind of went away for quite some time and kind of wasn't faded in the background, and now he's doing this whole toxic masculinity thing, and hey,
you know,
this is again one of those situations. I'd rather
yeah,
be doing something
then
than
nothing. Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
So like,
So I I think it's gonna work. Um it's gonna work, and he's gonna fill in a nice void, kind of right there where kind of like the Miz was filling in these gaps where you're doing your best work at an unexpected time. Just like when Eric got hurt and Ivar was like, "Yeah, I'll step back into my singles role," and he was just killing it until he got hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I think having that opportunity to show like why you're in the WWE and why you're getting these opportunities.
Well, you know what, man? I'd better be doing something than nothing. I mean,
Yep. So I think it's gonna work for Kit, and then getting them back together if his partner can come back from this injury. Um, I know I shouldn't say I know. I believe wholeheartedly when you have a neck injury, Triple H is going to be 100% not on the side of rushing you to get back if getting you back is even remotely an opportunity.
yeah,
We saw it, and that stems from years and years ago. You remember Draws, right?
yeah,
And how he tore up his neck. Apparently, Hunter and Draws were like really close friends, like outside of the ring, and he was like with him when he was paralyzed and stuff like that. And so now in a leadership role, I think and I believe Triple H is going to be like, if your neck is hurt, nah, you ain't getting messed up in my ring. Nah, we're
yeah.
not even doing that.
Well, and then
So
yeah, and then
yeah.
you have to protect your investments anyways, and
Oh yeah.
and shit happens. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the name of the game. I mean, it's this is one take, guys. This isn't freaking Broadway. This isn't freaking we can do a second take like Hollywood or a TV show. This is a one take and done, and shit happens, and it's unfortunate, but
Mhm.
it's the name of the game. But so so we get Drew McIntyre trying to come out again and talk, and he absolutely gets obliterated by Jacob Fatu. And
So lovely. So
like the stupid thing about this whole debacle is that we have these qualifying matches to obviously face Drew McIntyre,
lovely.
but like we still have these feud things with between Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. Like, but meanwhile, you're trying to build towards an elimination chamber in 3 weeks, and you still have this whole thing. Now, for all intents purposes, I think that we're going to get a Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, and Drew McIntyre bout. Probably, I would say, let's hypothetically say, because obviously we have Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, and Sami Zayn in the for elimination qualifier. I see Sami Zayn winning, and because Drew will screw over Jacob Fatu and Cody, and then let's again hypothetically we get Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, and Cody Rhodes triple threat at
Okay.
Elimination Chamber, and
Maybe.
just because they need to they need to let this shit happen. Like, let these
Right.
motherfuckers brawl, let them do what they gotta do so we can move on.
You
Because
know,
you can't have these stories go on, but
yes, they
simultaneous well,
yes, they
well
can. I mean,
well, no, but what I'm
we've
saying is
seen
they
them
can't have it
doing it.
they can't have it simultaneously having a second build to who faces Drew at, at WrestleMania. Like, I wanna see them literally again strike while it's hot. I don't care about long term anything. This shit's going on right now, and
But that's
Drew's gonna screw over Cody and Jacob Fatu,
how
next
you
week.
keep people watching week after week because they get in these mindsets, like you. It's like, give me what I want right now, right now. I gotta have it all, gotta have it all. And it's like, they it's the psychology behind it. It's like every week they inch closer and closer, and it seems like it's so much farther away. Um, Sami Zayn winning Elimination Chamber, yeah, let's book it. Um, Drew McIntyre screwing over Cody and Jacob, Cody for sure. I think Cody is going to have another feud for WrestleMania. I don't know who that feud is going to be, but he's going to have another feud. Jacob
Yeah,
is not going to win Elimination Chamber. They're not ready to put it on Jacob.
yeah,
They're just not.
yeah.
I think
I just wanna
Sammy
see these
getting
guys.
in
I
there.
just wanna see these guys brawl.
You know what?
And I
They
and
can
I and
brawl
that,
every they can brawl every Friday or every Tuesday or wherever they want, but
at
to actually
McDonald's.
have it, yeah, to actually have a count, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like I think, I'm probably like-minded by the millions and millions of the WWE universe, and I just think like, yeah, like you said, if whether it's a match or it's just an unsanctioned match and let these guys fucking go, but you know what? By all means. But you
Right.
gotta let them cook, man. Let them just get it out of their system so we can move forward. But
But then that like what did they move forward from? See, like every feud, every conflict has to have another conflict to move into. That is like the story of pro wrestling. It's like all the conflict but zero resolution, and it's like how do we get Jacob from that big brawl? Let's say we get that big brawl in elimination chamber. How did we get Jacob to his next story? How do we progress him? How do we progress Sami Zayn? How do we progress Cody in a way that we can still keep Cody as a face but not have him in the championship picture, because no one wants to see him hold that title again. um
yeah,
and maybe it's in, maybe it's not that way. I really don't know. I know we've got something, very interesting with CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. That could be very interesting because I can see Roman Reigns once again carrying another story, and CM Punk trying to do his best to hold up a match. And you know
yeah,
yeah, so but getting those three people on SmackDown,
yeah.
which is
I don't even
Sammy,
care. I don't even care
Cody,
what happens
and
on SmackDown. Like,
so
I
we've got Elimination Chamber and then we've got WrestleMania. All three of those guys need a match. Drew's got a match. um but who is
yeah,
Drew's match going to be with? So if it's going to be Jacob, how do we get Jacob?
yeah,
Do we get, Drew like screwing over someone else and failing to screw over Jacob Fatu, and that's how we
right,
get Jacob Fatu? Does Sammy capitalize on Drew and pins the last person in Elimination Chamber to win Elimination Chamber? Or do we
yeah,
just have Jacob
yeah,
Fatu pull a Goldberg and just eliminate everybody, and that's just how it is?
yeah. And
But
well,
if
and
it's
I like, at the
yeah,
end of it, honestly, like I'm excited for however it plays out.
yeah,
And and like we've said a million times over, is sometimes we don't know what we want. You
yeah,
know,
and
like,
that's
and
that's
so
100%
that's kind
true.
of,
And
so
yeah, yeah.
so we get our next match on SmackDown, and it was Tama Tonga versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Mm,
And, you thought with, the conversations they were having the last couple weeks, there was some anything to it, and I don't think there really was. Obviously, the MFT is obviously helping out Tama to get the win on this, and no real surprise. Now, our next wild segment is we got Liv and Raquel, and they're just chatting it up, having a good old time, obviously followed by Jade Cargill, and then not much longer, Jordan Grace. And I hope there's something to this. Um, I just it's they're spiraling terribly with this Jade Cargill championship run. Um, I just need something big to come out of this.
so let's unwrap this just really quickly. In recent memory, who did they do this with? Um, who did they do this with that we also complained about, or that you complained about? Um, let's see here. Who was the women's champion last year? WWE.
Oh, it's
I just
Tiffany
got to
Stratton. 'cause she held it for a while.
Because it might not even let's see here. I'm on Wikipedia right now. Um see here. Oh goodness. Jay Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax, Bailey. Um oh, then it was Io Sky, but then Bianca, no, maybe Asuka.
Yeah, I
Bianca.
honestly
I
I
would I,
can't even
I would
recall, but
say
yeah, I mean, I
say
think
like a
though,
Becky Lynch or definitely a Nia Jax more than likely. So we know that they have these these tropes and stuff like that. Um, so point is that I don't think it does diminish Jade's wrestling and how she's improved over the past 2 years
yeah,
when she's not doing it. But I know that it has to be character driven. You know what I'm saying? Like even when like Charlotte was a champion, there were probably lulls in her title defenses as well. But it's been a while since she's been champion, and that's fine. We know with the men that they do it all the time. Like we just talked about CM Punk versus Roman Reigns in title defenses. 4 years of 60 title defenses, where CM Punk had it over a year, close to a year and a quarter, or year and a quarter, year and a half, and he had more than 130
yeah,
title defenses. Um, Now the caveat with Roman Reigns is obviously he's a lifelong leukemia fighter. So I mean, if he's got to take time to take care of his health and still fight off leukemia, so be it. I mean, they're not going to be like, well, we got to strip you,
yeah,
you're our biggest draw since whomever. So they're not going to do that. Obviously they're just going to write it into the story. So we also saw it with Brock Lesnar, so I can understand the comparisons. Like, she's not defending her championship. Why did they put the title on her if they didn't have creative for
yeah,
her? I think the creative is to make her seem entitled and to make her seem like a champion that can call her own shots and defend the championship when she wants to. I know we've seen it with others, and we've talked about that same behavior with others. It doesn't make them look as strong. We should have fighting champions. Um,
yeah. Well, and I think that's literally like this really kind of the story of secondary titles and championships right now, unfortunately, and it's just like you gotta really have something, even if it's a short term thing.
mhm.
Like, you gotta keep the momentum going, and, like, I get, her being entitled and arrogant and all that stuff like that, but, like, most of us are sitting back like, "Okay, like, cool, you don't do anything." Like, you have these little small spats that really don't mean a whole lot, and I would rather have her, having, 8-minute matches where she destroys someone than have nothing to, like, at least give her mild momentum.
Right.
But
So maybe we can maybe I will reframe it for me as like creative is not giving her nothing, so it makes her look weaker as a
yeah,
champion. Um, and it doesn't do anything for her in the long term.
yeah,
Like, I agree that, quick 5 minute or less squash matches are better than no matches and she's just out talking. I
yeah,
don't like that. I don't like that creative. give her something. I don't care if it's a jobber. I don't care if, you
Some
know,
local
she
talent. Like,
local talent that, um, I don't care
yeah,
if she like attacks like someone in the back and then they come out, but they're really beat up and hurt and she just squashes them. I give me a reason to not be on her side because right now I'm on her side because I believe wholeheartedly that it's creative and it's the way they want to position her versus I want to see fighting champions,
yeah,
and you're doing her dirty by
yeah.
not giving her at
It's
least,
yeah,
so
something to work with. I mean,
yeah.
but so we'll obviously move past that and kind of get back to that. But
Mhm.
in so we obviously had the next qualifying match between Randy Orton, Aleister Black, and Solo Sikoa. Um, obviously ends in a pretty well set up RKO.
That was lovely.
Um,
That was a lovely
so like,
RKO.
and it was like a no looker, but
No, I was just thinking that right in my head, a no look RKO. Even though
yeah,
he kinda looked to make sure he was in position, Solo did a really good job getting himself in position and
yeah,
selling that, you
yeah.
know?
So obviously Randy gets the win in that. So basically, our elimination chamber, our first entrance on the men's and women's is Randy Orton in the men's, Tiffany Stratton in the women's. And before I get to our buy or sell or other little miscellaneous things I wanted to talk about, I did want to, referees in WWE travel like everyone else, and they miss
Mhm.
stuff too. And we had something happen recently with Ajo Smith, who lost her family or some 4
Mm.
family members
Yep.
in a tragic house fire, and you know that's I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, and
And nothing but thoughts and good prayers,
exactly.
to her and the rest of the family that's hurting during this absolute tragedy. And so I just think you ever see your mom or your dad, man, hug them, tell you love them. Brothers, sisters, same thing, man. Like, you never know, when you can lose people. So I just wanted to take a moment for that, because that is I can't even fathom it. So
Yeah.
thoughts and prayers to her and her
Yep.
family.
Yep.
Um,
She's got a GoFundMe if you can donate something. Yeah, they're all WWE is filled with people who give of themselves, you know, all the time. So yeah, it's incredible,
yeah. So, but just wanted to at least speak into that a hot sec. Now,
yeah.
before I get to buy or sell, I wanted to touch on something that it seems to be a norm for WWE releases, and there's 4 wrestlers specifically, that basically have done better outside of WWE, whether it was in the Indies or Japan or AEW or wherever. But you have Ricochet, who is a bigger star
Mm,
in AEW, being the national champion right now. You had
yes.
Tommaso Ciampa literally in his first fight win the
Yes.
TNA championship in AEW,
Mhm.
and that's insane. And he is way better over than he ever was in WWE. And you have Karrion Kross, who we've been very outspoken about the crappy booking of WWE for Karrion Kross, being that he was authentically over in WWE and still got the freaking boot twice. But he is now the NLW World Champion. And then you have someone a lot of people don't know about. Um, you have Dijak, aka uh, it was like Dominic Dijakovic or something like that
Yep.
in NXT, and he's succeeded on the Indies in Japan, MLW or NLW. Like
Yep. He's
it's
a tag team
crazy,
champion in MLW right now.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like you fumble these guys so bad. And I've said this before is that like it's amazing how they leave and they are bigger stars. And then WWE did nothing about it because they're arrogant pricks that think they're like just the creme de la creme, and they think that they're the upper echelon when multiple wrestlers have left and gone to other promotions and gotten bigger, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we better try to get him back, you know. And so I think it's pretty messed up. Now, to get to the new segment we've been doing, and that's basically, are you in or are you out?
Mhm.
Um, I got a couple things now. Randy Orton's been chasing number 15 for a very long time. And so I want to know if you're in or you're out on Randy winning Elimination Chamber and getting number 15 at WrestleMania.
I'm out. I don't think he's been in the story long enough. I think SummerSlam, yeah, I could see it at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But WrestleMania, no. I think WrestleMania I don't think the only championship that'll change hands at WrestleMania will be CM Punk's. Yeah, I don't see any other championship. I think Drew will survive WrestleMania as champion. Women's tag team championships may change hands. Women's championship probably will change hands, but Randy is nowhere near a championship run. But that doesn't mean he's physically not able to have a run. I'm more leaning on he's not been in any compelling stories where he's like in that mode of being a champion.
Yeah.
I could see Gunther somehow, some way being in a championship picture. I mean, look he's retired.
Yeah.
Look at his current in-ring work.
Yeah.
You know, but also I could see both Gunther and Randy Orton having having a championship match this year. Yeah,
All
but
right.
I don't. Yeah,
All right. Well, the next thing I want to get to, and we touched on it a little bit, but is Raquel okay with eliminating her from Royal Rumble and then getting involved in her championship match after she told her not to? Do you think Raquel is actually fine with it, or do you think that there's some underlying disdain that will show its ugly head at WrestleMania?
Oh, it'll come to a head before WrestleMania. There'll be a receipt at WrestleMania, but I think Elimination Chamber, that's when it all comes to a head. And then we have like more build up. I think Raquel, Liv. I think Raquel and Liv will probably get resolved at WrestleMania, but I think Stephanie doesn't hold on her championship at WrestleMania. She does drop it at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But to either Liv or Raquel, I think Raquel I think Raquel doesn't get it at WrestleMania. Liv does, and Raquel feels cheated and slighted, and that starts their fight, their feud, at WrestleMania.
So then you
Uh,
think we're gonna go into WWE Backlash with that?
yeah, and that'll be a few months. I think Raquel she's got a book schedule this year of good feuds that can help elevate her to the the actual real conversations of being a champion. Long she shows up and does her best and she works big like Kevin Nash, yeah, you could see a championship on her by SummerSlam. Um, but she's got to really take the advice that she's been getting from Kevin Nash, um, and just doing her best character work and really living, diving deeper into her pro wrestling bag and
Yeah,
otherwise, I mean, she's just going to be, a big girl, you
yeah,
know, doing whatever.
yeah. So my last thing is kind of a an observation and a question,
Mhm.
but so Dominic has not had a match in WWE since November when he faced John Cena to win the Intercontinental. In his last, and then that was in WWE, and his last match in AAA was in December when he supposedly got injured. And so my question is, do you think to speed up these elongated non-defending title contentions, do you think they should implement, I know it was a 30-day before, but just for S&Gs, I would say implement a 6-week title complete compete clause. Do you, like, obviously I don't think it's going to happen, but would it honestly make sense to do something like that so we don't get these wishy-washy if someone's out with an injury, they don't relinquish. They're just sitting there holding on to it and not doing anything with it. You've seen it with Dominic. You've seen it with Stephanie Vaquer. You've seen it, really they've done nothing with Jade Cargill. And so like with the exception of, CM Punk defending his title and Carmelo Hayes defending his title, or the women's tag team division defending their titles. Other than that, nobody's doing jack shit with those titles.
So I don't think WWE is going to start enforcing the 30-day title defense rule. I don't think that's going to be. Do think WWE could do something that AEW does or the UFC does, and that is implement an interim champion. But they would have to invest more in the championships than what they do in order to make that a possibility. Like, we know that you're injured, but hey, we're going to have an interim championship.
I
And
mean,
when you come back, your first title defense is against the person that is the interim,
well,
or we can strip you. Yeah.
otherwise, do what they've done with the Freebird rule apply to factions.
Well, I don't like the Freebird rule for singles championships because that then you can just say like, oh well,
Well, I'm not, and
Obafemi is
yeah.
now part of the Judgment Day, so he's going to defend my
Well,
Intercontinental Championship.
I'm not saying like, just any old Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'm just saying like, to like they did with Zarya in NXT with Sol Ruka being champion and her friend defending her titles. And
Well,
and that was in like a short term. I'm not saying in long term. I'm not saying this is going to happen all the time, but just to at least have those titles defended in a decent time frame is what I'm saying.
I think that sets up too many stories that WWE doesn't want to. like have that problem. Like, okay, so let's play this out. All right. So Dominic chooses Finn Balor to defend his championship as a proxy, or because he's injured or whatever have you. Finn Balor's like, okay. And then Finn Balor throws the match. Now you've got a story with Dominic losing his championship because Finn Balor didn't want to defend it and he didn't want to see Dominic with a championship.
Well,
When Finn Balor, actually wants to be world champion, he doesn't want to be intercontinental champion. So I think the Freebird rule for singles championships, no, I'm not on board with that. No. But having something that makes sense, like, hey, due to a long-term injury, we're going to strip you, or we're going to have you know isn't that what they did when Finn Balor got hurt? So when Seth accidentally injured Finn Balor had to relinquish the championship, and then they had like a fatal five-way or something like that for the Universal Championship, and then Triple H picked Seth and Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens, was nominated, basically was given the championship because he pedigreed Seth. I would rather see something like that. But if they're just sitting on Dominic and he's okay to wrestle, and they just need to find the right story to bring him back, we don't need an interim. They can just put him back on TV and he
well,
can
I mean,
portray the chicken,
yeah. Well, and
and
I
that,
mean, Oba Femi basically just relinquished his title to go to the main roster, and
which I thought
and
was
then they
stupid. I
yeah,
did not like that. I thought that was, I hated that.
and
But
but then they turned around and had a 7-man ladder match for the championship, and I feel like honestly, when you're going to relinquish a title, the ladder matches always make more sense, right?
mhm.
And so I think, I think ladder matches are honestly probably one of the more contained, better matchups for a relinquished or vacant title. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just it's
Yeah, if he's really hurt, if Dominic Mysterio is really hurt and they don't have a time frame for him to come back, get the championship off of him. Strip him from the championship, put it on an interim champion or whatever have you, or have a number one's contenders match. Whoever wins that match gets to be the champion, but their first title defense, or their title defense, whomever holds it, has to be with the former champion Ray. And if Ray gets it back, cool. If not, all right, we just move on with stories. If it's
yeah,
poor
yeah,
creative, then that's on creative.
yeah,
Um,
and well, the thing is too is that until they did these WWE Unreal things, which I think are honestly stupid. I think it ruins it for the OG fans, and especially the new fans are like, oh, they're not this is all think oh, this is all blah blah blah, and like we don't believe any of this
mhm.
now because we've seen Unreal and we know how things work. And the problem is for them doing Unreal is for us now to place the blame not only on Triple H, but Michael Hayes, Bruce Pritchard, I think Road Dogg was part of it. You had Paul Heyman. I mean, you have a slew of people of these knowledgeable these guys that have been in the business for 30, 40, 50 years. And you guys suck. So now it's like, well, it's not just Triple H. And obviously, like we said, I think we said last week about like, placing some of the blame on TKO. And I feel like that's just another person in the books to blame. And I really thought that when they went, the European tour, all those matches were phenomenal. And
Yeah,
then they
I
come back
think
here and and give us leftover lasagna. Okay,
I
like
like leftover
if you
lasagna.
can,
I
if
don't
you
know.
prove to us
Yeah.
in the U.S. that you could put on phenomenal shows, and then you bring it back here and you give us just leftovers, like
Mhm.
clearly you have the capability to do good things. So why did they come back here and we get dog shit?
I think one, it's the market, and we talked about it before, but I think I'll paraphrase. One, it's the market. They're not over there all the time, so they're gonna put on their Sunday best for them. Um, but when you see the same old people, you've got to cater to them, and that's what we get. We get the same old rhythms and rhymes. Um, and it's stagnant, and a lot of people are bored with it. I get it. I think I get it. Um, I just don't like the inconsistency, but I also understand why you give your best overseas because you're not there and you want them to clamor for you. Um, and why you just phone it in when you're at home. I mean, you know, yeah. I don't like that, but I think I understand why, or at least I have my suspicions of why that is the case. Um, Going back to the whole Dominic Mysterio situation, I'm not on board with Freebird rule. I would rather see something come up of it. If he's ready to come back, maybe they say like, "Hey, you haven't defended this in 30 days. If you don't defend this, tonight we're gonna strip you or whatever have you." That'd be a good way to reintroduce him, or a more going forward. They're like, "Hey, it's a 90-day clause, like you were alluding to, like 6 weeks or whatever have you, in between title defenses." I don't know what the rule is for like boxing or UFC, MMA. But I think it would be good for business to have your championships defended periodically, you know, on a
Yeah,
in a in a calendar season. Like,
I
like,
mean,
hey,
even if you
you know,
have, like I said, even if you have a couple squashes, at least defend it. I just think it really just waters down, the show, because now it's like, these people here, like even some of the US, like, the US, a lot, I would say the majority, I would say half of the cities they go to get dog shit, right? Unless, because it's like, I'm really annoyed that it's just like they just constantly bring stuff to Chicago, just constantly. It,
Chicago is
it
a big market for them. It's a big market for pro wrestling. And I think a lot of it has to do with um CM Punk, when he was elsewhere, he was
but
a
I
big
just
market draw.
but again, it's like you bring these even if you like, even like the live shows, like you bring live, basic ass live shows to some venues, and then you only do like the live at like, you know 40 cities or whatever, and it's I don't know. I digress. I mean, I we could pick apart this for freaking hours, but we'll just put a pin as we do,
Mhm.
and hopefully, everyone's back at full strength next week. Hopefully Tim's here. Obviously the Super Bowl is going on right at this very moment. So, yeah, so we'll wait and see what becomes of stuff on Monday Night Raw, NXT, SmackDown. Because there's a lot to get to on Raw now that we know that Roman's facing, so will we see any of the Raw roster go to Elimination Chamber to face Drew McIntyre? Or is it going to be strictly SmackDown only, and that's all she wrote? But I would love to see a little bit of, combinations,
Mhm.
just to make it interesting. But
Yeah.
we'll wait and see as we do. This is the
Yep.
Lockdown Podcast. Peace.